All right, we are now going to take a look at the different image files and data layers we have for the PWW lab. And so what I've got brought up on the screen right now is the uh, orthomosaic that was collected during the time of our field trip. And as you can see, there's some holes in here, there's some issues, and it only partially covered the area of interest. And so in order to have better coverage, I asked my assistant Timo to go back out, and he did. He went out, excuse me, last week, and he was able to map the entirety of the area, and that's what's shown if I bring that guy up there. So we covered more of the area of interest, and so that's good news. And the quality of the imagery is a little bit higher, and so we can just take a look here. We can maybe zoom in on some of this grass, and we can see that in the the excursion data that we got during those flights, a lot of distractions and things happening, not looking that great. But when we look at the more recent data that he got, we can see the details of the grass. And so good job, Timo. We've got some nice looking data. One thing to note is that this new image mosaic that he generated, we did not have out in the field those paper plates or even the ground control points from before. And so if you pan around and flick on or off these two different images, you'll see that in some places there's some slight offset in, 30 centimeters, 40 centimeters, or so on. So that's something to be aware of. And depending on which imagery you do your analysis on, if you're getting some differences, that's one potential source of error, is sort of misregistration between those two images. Just something to keep in mind. So we've got the imagery. Great. We've got these massive data files. We've got these big data files. And we also, to do our analysis, which is a comparison of the point intercept field data that you collected while you're out in the field, with what we can learn from the drone imagery, we need to bring in that point intercept field data, or at least the GPS points we have associated with those. And so to do that, hopefully you've downloaded the data from the link posted in the lab. And I've got mine here, and again, you may have a different file location, but it's on GPS data. And then we've got these different ones. This is Trimble 1, Trimble 2, Trimble 3. So I'm going to bring up the data for Trimble 1. And if you haven't done this before, it's kind of buried down in there. And this is a result of the geo-processing, or the differential GPS processing done for the correction. But in Trimble 1, double click on that guy. You get all these different folders, and the one of interest is export. And so the one that we want is this point GE, which is just a generic name, but these are points which were secured from the Trimble 1 unit. And I'm going to hit add here. This is not that helpful in terms of symbology, so I'm going to change it to something more obvious. And then okay, great. We can see that these are some points which were brought in, but point GE is not a good name, so I'm actually going to just lightly click on this guy, and I'm going to rename it Trimble 1. Fantastic. And I'm going to now bring in the data for Trimble 2, which is here, and same deal, export this guy, add. It brought these in. I don't care for that symbology too much. I'm going to change the color here. I'll make this yellow. Okay, great. So this is for Trimble 2. I'm going to rename this. And I'll go ahead and bring in Trimble 3 as well. Why not? So Trimble 3, it's an export, this generic name. I'm going to change the symbology so I can actually see these things. I'll make it like this kind of blue so we can really see that guy. And I'll name this guy Trimble 3. Great. So I've got my GPS data in. I've got my images in. And but one thing is, what do these different points represent? So if I right click on here and I open attribute table, and I bring that up, we can see in the comment field we've got this information. We've got T1, T2, I'm not sure what those guys are, but presumably this 1A and 1B, which just highlighted this guy in here. This is the first transect, yeah, the first point intercept transect is my assumption. That started at point A and then it went to point B, or this might be A and this is B. I'm not exactly sure which one. But the point being, in the comment field, it has information about what these points actually represent. And then these guys are different ground control points. Looks like here was one, here was another one. So those are highlighted up. And that the names are given in the comment field. Okay, so if we want to look at these points and more readily see what the points represent, if we right click on the name here, we can go down to label features. And some labels came up, but they're pretty small for me to see. If I right click on it again and I go down to properties, I can go to labels. Maybe yours was on source, but we're going to go to labels here. And I want to label features the same way. I want it on the comment field. Yes, I want comment field. I want this to be like 14. I want it to be bold so I can see. I hit apply. And so now I know that, oh, this point is GCP, 2, number 1. This is point 1G and so on. Okay, and you could do the same for the other Trimble data sets as well. So we're gonna stop that guy here, and then we'll come back with another video to talk about how do we actually use these data to do our analysis.